All right, good afternoon, boys and girls. We're on lesson 66, reading a centimeter scale. And let's go ahead and get started. Today, our objective is to measure the length of an object with a centimeter ruler and write the measurements in millimeter and in centimeters. So, our joke of the day is what do you call a number that can't keep still? And the answer is a Roman numeral. Okay, so here's a new concept. In this lesson, we're going to measure objects using a centimeter ruler. A ruler usually has 30 centimeters long and is divided into millimeters. Each millimeter is 1/10 of a centimeter. All right, so this is part of a ruler. And if we measure things in centimeters, you can see here that every single line here, there's 10 in each one between 0 and 1. So all these little lines are millimeters. Okay, so if we were to do a 1 centimeter, it'd also be equal to 10 millimeters, right? Because there's 10 lines here. If we were doing 2 centimeters, that would also equal to 20 millimeters, right? Because every centimeter has 10 in it. So we could just times each one by 10 to figure out what our millimeters are. Or you could count all these little lines. See, if we count all the way up to this 15, we'd have 15 centimeters, but we'd also have 150 um, millimeters. All right. So let's go ahead and go to our example number one. So we're going to write this length in millimeters. So look at this line, and we're going to write that in millimeters, and we're also going to write it in centimeters. Okay. So for letter A, it's asking for millimeters, and what we can find here is in this millimeter ruler, we can just count 20 and it goes all the way to 24. Okay, so for letter A, we're going to write down 24 millimeters. And then for centimeters, what we can do is you can take that 24 and just move the decimal point over like we learned in the last lesson. Or we look at the centimeter ruler and you find that we have 2 here and it doesn't quite make it to 3, but we know that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines over. And so we do a 2.4 for centimeters, okay? And that's how you would write it. So if it was 27, for example, then you would do 27 millimeters, you would do 2.7. So everything in the middle for centimeters, all these little millimeter lines, you do a point 1 through 9, okay? Example number 2, what decimal is showing, is this number is the arrow pointing at? So I'm sorry. To what decimal number is the arrow pointing? All right. So what we have to do is it's between 3 and 4, right? And we know we can count how many lines that are in between, so we know what's our fraction. All right. In this case, there's 10 lines, right? And it's just kind of like the metric ruler. We're gonna use, instead of a fraction, we'll use a decimal. And to show 7, oh, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? It's on the 7th line out of 8, 9, 10 lines. So it's 7/10. So how we write that as a decimal is 3.7, all right? Because as a decimal, this is 7/10, okay? If you want to write that as a fraction, which is the mixed number, I want you guys to try and figure that out, what the mixed number is. 3 and 7/10. Write that down as a fraction, okay? All right, pretty short lesson today. What you're going to do is you're going to use a ruler to find the measurements of these things. Um, the length of your math book, the width of the paper, how long is it in, uh, how long is it inch in centimeters, okay, and um, the, the paper clip that's on your paper, the dime, okay. So don't use the one on your. Well, actually, just measure the ones that are on your worksheet. Okay, you're gonna actually need your worksheet on in this case, and then we'll measure it um, in class to make sure that your answers are verified. Okay, and then on the bottom here, we're gonna write a decimal to name each of the mark points for each arrow. Okay, I'm gonna give you F for you. Remember, these are 10 spaces, so it's gonna be a point one of these spaces. All right. So for letter F, it would be 0.1 because um, it's on the first space. out of 10 spaces. All right, when you do letter H, just like our example, you're going to do 1 first and then point something, okay, whatever this is. So try to figure that out. And then for letter L, what you're going to do, you're going to write the fraction or mixed number for each of these things, okay? Remember, they're out of tenths. So if you have any questions, write down your questions on the back of your sheet, and we could answer them in class tomorrow. All right, guys, have a great night, and we look forward to seeing you.